The aftermath of the win feels like a long-awaited exhale. The apartment, once divided by invisible lines and territorial disputes, has finally become a single, cohesive space. The rain from the night before has left the air crisp and clear. Jimin wakes up to the sound of something clattering in the kitchen. Not the aggressive, sharp sounds of a rival making a point, but the clumsy, rhythmic sounds of someone trying to be quiet and failing. He walks out to find Jungkook at the stove, wearing a pair of Jimin's gray sweatpants that are definitely too short for him. He's flipping pancakes with a level of intensity usually reserved for a final exam. Those look edible, Jimin teases, leaning against the doorframe and crossing his arms. Jungkook doesn't look up, but a small smirk tugs at his lips. They're more than edible. They're a masterpiece. I'm practicing for the best roommate title. I heard the competition is stiff. Jimin walks over, sliding his arms around Jungkook's waist from behind and resting his cheek against his broad back. The competition just forfeited. You win by default. Later that morning, they find themselves back at the dining table, but the atmosphere is entirely different. Instead of two laptops acting as shields between them, they've pushed the chairs together. Look at this, Jungkook says, turning his tablet so Jimin can see a new character design. I was thinking, what if we merged our next projects? A joint submission. Jimin's eyes widen. For years, the idea of sharing credit with his rival would have been a nightmare. Now, looking at Jungkook's sharp lines and thinking of his own narrative flow, it feels like the most logical thing in the world. A collaboration, Jimin muses, his hand finding Jungkook's under the table. The faculty would lose their minds. They love our feud. Let them, Jungkook shrugs, leaning in to brush his nose against Jimin's. I'm bored of fighting you. I'd rather see what happens when we're on the same side. As they work, the old competitive spirit flares up, but it's playful now. A game of who can come up with the better plot twist, followed by a kiss for the winner. Jimin watches Jungkook as he works, realizing that the space Jungkook once demanded wasn't about hate, it was about fear. The fear that if he let Jimin in, he'd never want him to leave. And now that he's in, the fear has been replaced by a quiet, unshakable certainty. Jungkook catches him staring and doesn't pull away. He reaches out, tucking a stray strand of blonde hair behind Jimin's ear. You're doing it again, Jungkook whispers. Doing what? Looking at me like you've already won. Jimin grins, leaning in until their foreheads touch. That's because I have, Jungkook. I definitely have. The rivalry is no longer a wall. It's the heartbeat of their relationship. They'll always push each other, always challenge each other, and always reach for things in the same drawer. But from now on, they'll be doing it together. The final wall between them hasn't just crumbled. It's been replaced by a bridge that neither of them wants to stop crossing. A few weeks pass, and the 1-week truce is now a distant memory. The apartment has shifted. Jimin's plants now sit on Jungkook's desk because the light is better there, and Jungkook's heavy art books are neatly stacked under Jimin's coffee table. It's late on a Tuesday, and the stress of final submissions is peaking. Jimin is slumped at the table, his eyes bloodshot from staring at a timeline for 6 hours straight. He feels a pair of hands settle on his shoulders, large, warm, and sure. Break time, Jungkook commands, his thumbs digging into the knots in Jimin's neck. With expert precision, Jimin groans, dropping his head back against Jungkook's stomach. I can't, I'm behind. If I don't finish this, you're going to take the top spot this semester. Jungkook leans down, his breath warm against Jimin's ear. I don't care about the top spot anymore, Jimin. I care about you being able to stand up without your back cracking like a glow stick. Move. Jungkook pulls him toward the sofa, practically tucking him into the corner. He follows, pulling a soft throw blanket over both of them. For a long time, they just sit there in the glow of the city lights, the only sound, the distant hum of traffic. I used to think being alone was my strength, Jungkook says quietly, his chin resting on top of Jimin's head. I thought if I didn't need anyone, nobody could get in my way. Jimin reaches up, tracing the tattoos on Jungkook's hand. And now Jungkook breathes, shifting so he can look Jimin in the eye. I think I was just lonely. And I was too proud to admit that the person I was competing with was the only one who actually understood me. Jimin feels a lump in his throat. He leans forward, pressing his forehead against Jungkook's. I understood you. I just thought you wanted me to stay the enemy, so you could keep focused. I was a fool, Jungkook whispers. Jungkook reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small silver key. He holds it out in the palm of his hand. What's this? Jimin asks, confused. I got a copy made for the deadbolt, Jungkook says, his cheeks tinged with a slight pink. I know we already live here, but I wanted you to have a key that was mine to give you. No more fate made us roommates. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. Jimin takes the key, his fingers trembling slightly. It's a small piece of metal, but it's the heaviest thing Jungkook has ever given him. It's a promise that the door is always open and the space is always shared. I choose you too, Jungkook, Jimin says, closing his hand over the key and pulling Jungkook into a kiss that tastes like home, like a long-awaited victory, and like the end of a very long war. The rivalry is still there. They'll probably fight over the thermostat in 10 minutes, but the hearts are finally at peace. They aren't just roommates, and they aren't just rivals. They are exactly where they were always meant to be. ***, the end.